good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you. We're grateful to have everybody. And as we always say when we've got new guests, it's always great to have a new guest. And I want to thank Magdalene Rose for bringing us a fine young lady tonight from the great state of California. And what an appropriate time to have somebody from California on our show tonight. Jordan Brace is on the phone. Jordan, it is such a pleasure to have you, young lady. And we tell you, like we tell everybody that comes on our show, now you're a guest for about 15 minutes, and then after that you are officially McFiles family, and that means we'll just have you on all the time after this. So, you're a guest for a few minutes, and you'll be family after that. It's good to see you tonight, kid. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, it's our pleasure, Jordan. It really is. And I do want to ask you, you are in the great golden state of California tonight, and all eyes of the country is on that state because of the mayor's race down in L.A. and the governor's race. I got to ask you a question. I saw something today on X, and I had to chuckle. How does California go from reporting 56% of the ballots last night to reporting 54% today? I'm just curious if there's a new math equation in California. And when they count ballots, it goes backwards. Are they trying to steal this election again, Jordan? Are they trying to do it to us again?
I believe so. I think it really all comes down to one word: fraud. The Democrats will truly do anything it takes for them to win, for them to funnel more money back into their pockets. The well-being of the residents of California does not matter to some of these people. What matters to them is how much they're putting in their bank accounts.
I could not agree with that more. Do you think that there is any hope that that President Trump may step in? I was talking to a friend tonight, and I said I don't believe there's any other remedy for this, because even today, from what I understand, 25,000 ballots showed up, and how in the world do all 25,000 ballots go to Bass? Not one ballot went to Pratt in the mayor's race. I don't even think any went to Noodle. That's our affectionate name for her down south. The other lady, Ramon, I can't think of her last name, but anyway, the third candidate. And looking at those margins last night, even today, Pratt has still got about a 10% margin on her, and they're not going to call it for him yet. But how is that happening? I mean, I know you mentioned fraud. Has there been any effort to stop this on the state level, or is it something the feds are going to have to come in and try to remedy? Because we just can't let them do this again.
I'm going to be honest, I couldn't make out some of that because you started breaking up, but I did hear what you asked about President Trump. I do think he will step in, and I think he has shown that through, for example, his endorsement of Steve Hilton for governor. I do think that President Trump cares about all the states individually, the well-being of every resident of California and every state. So to put it plainly, yes, I do believe he will continue to step in further than he has already.
Yeah. And go ahead and accept that FaceTime invitation, and you just turn the video off, and we'll be on audio in that way. I'm in the mountains here sometimes, and there you go. And can you hear me a little bit better now?
I can, yeah.
Much better. Yeah, we're in the mountains here. They have to airmail internet into us, Jordan, and sunlight to it. In these hills, we're just hill people. We don't understand technology over here in East Tennessee. But seriously, well, I think you're right there. Do you think that the two elections, especially the mayor's race, I'm going to deal with the governorship here in a minute, but I want to ask you about the mayor because you're a little north of there. But has the state itself felt the same anger that the people of LA have felt regarding the fires back last year in January, or this past January, I should say? Because a lot of these fires that took place, none of these homes have been rebuilt, and a lot of it has been laid at the foot of Bass, of the ineptitude and the bureaucracy, the red tape. And do you think that the anger over that is resonating in the governor's race with Steve Hilton, because he is actually maintaining a lead over all candidates right now, and they still won't call it for him to go on to the general?
I know. And absolutely, I believe that the entire state of California feels empathy and anger for those down in the Palisades and in Paradise, and just everyone in our state who, over the years, have had to deal with awful fires. And I think people are also noticing that Los Angeles has a mayor that claims to care more than she actually does, because I truly believe that actions speak louder than words. And I think that Karen Bass going to Ghana instead of taking care of all the issues that the residents of her city are dealing with, I think that speaks negative volumes about her.
Well, it does. Let me ask you this: you and Magdalene about the same age, all are young conservatives, and I'm just curious, how is this playing with the young crowd? And I have to. The reason
I'm sorry, you're breaking up again.
Let me ask you this: how is the race in California playing with the young conservatives your age? How is it? How is Spencer Pratt resonating? Is he resonating with the young people because of his age or his message, or both? You there? I think we've lost her. There we go. I think you're back now. Can you hear me now, Jordan?
I'm so sorry. I cannot hear what you're saying. It's
Okay.
breaking up.
I tell you, I'm gonna FaceTime you back here. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna FaceTime you and then answer that and just cut the video and just go on audio with me, and it'll be better. Okay. Give me 1 second,
All right,
and I'll call you right back, dear. Sorry about that, folks. We're having a little technical issue. It's the Hills here, and we're going to try to do it this way with her, and maybe this will make a big difference there. Let's see if she can answer the phone for me. There we go. Jordan, can you hear me better now? That should be much better.
Yeah, that definitely is much better.
Absolutely. What I was asking is this. Spencer Pratt has made a big splash in L.A. and I think a lot of it's his age, his youth, but I think it's his message too. Among the young conservatives, that was my question as my phone was breaking up. What is it that is so appealing to the Californians down there, and especially people your age? Is he resonating because of his age, or is it his message, or is it both? Is it they're listening to somebody that's not a politician, that's just talking straight to them and say, look, we can do better than this, LA. We can do better than this, California.
I think it is both. I think that Spencer Pratt really cares about not only residents of Los Angeles, but residents of the entire state of California. And he's not a politician. He's a victim. He's a regular person just like everyone else. And I think that he connects with the residents of Los Angeles on a deeper level than Karen Bass could ever dream of doing.
Why do you think she got elected in the first place? Was it? Let me rephrase that question. Why is it that these liberal politicians like Bass, Newsom, this Becerra guy that's even running for governor, he's a joke. And you look at the field of the Democrats in California, and if this is the best they can do, I mean, seriously, but it seems that it doesn't matter how low the bar gets, that people flock to the polls. I can't even believe Bass is polling at 38% tonight, 35%. I can't believe that 35% of Los Angeles people would want her back.
I know, and I think that it, once again, all comes down to fraud. My question is, how is she a millionaire on a gout salary? That makes no sense to me.
What do you think? Do you think it's foreign influence or other nefarious things?
I think honestly, it's hard to say, but I do think that it could be foreign influence. I mean, because she loves to travel, clearly. But I do also think it comes down to the money and the power rather than, and I know I said this before, rather than actually caring.
Yeah. How is this playing with the young conservatives, your age group? What are you hearing from your age group about this whole mess in California? Have they grown tired of this? Do you see a shift in the young conservative movement, and kids get more involved in their government and going right instead of left?
Absolutely. I see a lot of people, especially around my age, seeing the truth, taking off the rose colored glasses, and realizing that California is a mess and it's due to the politicians that maybe we've elected, maybe we haven't. We don't really know. Again, there's the issue of fraud, but I think that a lot of people are waking up finally, and it's great to see it.
What is your thoughts about Steve Hilton? What has it been his appeal? I understand the Pratt phenomenon, and I'm pulling for you guys. Look, trust me, we out here in the country, I think that everybody, I know I've been monitoring that election every hour on the hour, and I think there's a lot of people here in the nation and in East Tennessee and all over the country that is pulling for Spencer Pratt tonight, and we're pulling for Steve Hilton. And I know the right ain't perfect, but the left is just plain crazy now. They're just plain demonically crazy. But what's Steve Hilton's appeal, do you think, that he has garnered the support? Is it the same issue, or is it that people, again, are just sick of the Dems running the state?
I think it's a combination of things. I do think it involves people being sick of the Dems running the state, but he also cares. I mean, I personally met Steve Hilton, and he's a wonderful guy. He clearly cares, and he wants to. I've read through the policies on his website multiple times. He wants to take care of the fact that we have the highest gas prices, the highest homelessness, the highest taxes. And he has this plan to make California, as he would say, Califortable, which I think is amazing. And I love everything that he's doing. And I love that he actually cares. And similarly to Spencer Pratt, he wants to connect with the residents of California on a deeper level rather than just having money and power.
What's the one issue that young conservatives are most concerned about? I mean, we could name a list of things: the illegal immigration, the high gas prices, the corruption in government, the Palisades fire. The threat, the natural threat that because of inadequate government leadership, you have these things happen, and it's like night and day when Republicans in office compared to a Dem. But from your point of view, Jordan, what is the one issue that you believe young conservatives are really turns their bell, and it draws them to a candidate one way or the other, turns them off or turns them on, depending on what that candidate's view of is? What would you say that would be?
I think the two biggest proponents are gas prices, because people, especially at my school, are always complaining about gas prices and how their jobs don't pay them enough to pay for gas. And I think they're also seeing the ridiculous amount of crime that happens in our state. And a lot of us don't feel safe anymore. And a lot of people also feel like they can never buy a house, which I guess that's topic number 3. But it's just our state isn't affordable, especially in Southern California.
Have you seen a lot of people leave the state? Because I know a lot of folks coming here to Tennessee. We've got to welcome that out, but I've been seeing a lot more California car tags over the last year than I've ever seen in my life since I've been here.
Yeah, I know. I think at least 4 people from my school alone going to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of people are going to Utah. It's people want to get out of California and go to states where everything's actually affordable.
Why do you think that the Democrat Party has gone so far left, and that how the moderates are having to embrace these radical, rabid, fascist, Nazi type candidates? I wouldn't put Karen Bass in that category, but she's close. Becerra he's just an idiot. But I look at people like Katie Porter, the lady that was down ticket of him, that people were literally taking her seriously at one time as a possible governor of California.
I know.
And Jordan, that lady that lady had lost all her marbles. And it's not just her. There are the whole party, top to bottom, every state, they are putting the most radically left-leaning people on the ticket, and people are voting for them. What's your thoughts on all that? Why is that happening?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Soros money. I know that's not a name that we say very often now, but I do think Soros money and that anti-Semitism in our state is being funded. At the end of the day, it goes back to the money. And I know this is a phrase that we probably hear all the time, follow the money. That's what it all goes back to. That's all these politicians care about.
I'll agree with that. So you're seeing the anti-Semitism rage in California too?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there certain things that are happening more? Is it more on the internet, or are you seeing actually things in the cities? Because I know you're sort of in the middle part of the city, or the state, I mean, and the capital. But are you seeing it around that area, or is it more LA or San Diego, or where is it? Where is it mainly?
Unfortunately, it's everywhere. You can't really escape it no matter where you go. I mean, even if you're not seeing it in the area in which you live in California, which I don't think is really possible, you're going to see things on the internet.
Have you, before I get to this next question, I want to ask you about Gavin Newsom. The current governor, he just runs him and his wife, or I would put in the left wing. I mean, just radical left, crazy thinking kind of people. But he's got his eyes on bigger toys after this time he's out of governor. He's looking for the White House. Do you think that he has a prayer outside of California of seeing 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
Absolutely not. I know people that, I mean, we disagree politically for the most part. I have some Democratic friends, and even they have said that they are sick and tired of Gavin Newsom, and that they do not believe he's a good governor, and that they believe he's all about himself. I think that because of how selfish he is and his lack of care and how much he loves the money and the power, I know I keep repeating it, but it's true. People are waking up once again, especially the younger generations, and seeing what a fraud he is.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Totally will agree with that. What do you think is going to ultimately happen? Do you predict that Pratt and Hilton survive the try to cheat gang, or do you think that we're looking at two Democrats on each side of the aisle? I don't see the Democrats pulling anybody in the governor's race. I'm concerned about the mayor's race, honestly. I think that they're trying their best to get those two Democrats on that ticket in November.
I see the concern, but I also do think that we're more hyper aware of it than we used to be, because previously this was all fresh, this was all new, the Democrats caught everyone off guard. But I think now the politicians and the people know what to expect. So that's why there's less mail-in ballots. That's why people are waking up, seeing the corruption, and not wanting to elect these people anymore. And I do think that we have a good chance at saving California.
I'm with you, and I'm praying you're right. I do. I pray you're right. Who would be your candidate for 2028 moving forward after the midterms on the Republican side? Who would you like to see run for president in 28?
J.D. Vance, without question. I think he would make a great president.
Do you think that his ties with Tucker would hurt him?
I don't think so. I mean, of course, there's going to be people that talk here and there, but I don't think it would hurt him in the election overall.
Okay. Let me ask you, I do want to ask you a little bit, because Magdalene and I have talked about the social media influencers a lot when we've had her. I've known Magdalene for a while now, and we're grateful that she introduced us to you tonight. What is your take on this, this crazy, and again, a lot of these people, Jordan, I'm older than you, and, I've seen a lot of these people on Fox, and they were conservative. We thought they were conservative, at least. And something happened, and they've just gone absolutely nuts on the left. They've just gone so far left, it ain't crazy. And some of it is, I know, it's just hurt feelings. I know with Taylor Greene, it's probably Trump didn't, coddle her enough, and the Hodge twins, it's, and Tucker and Candace and all these podcasters. How are these podcasters playing with the younger conservative group? I'm just curious from your angle, how are they playing toward your audience, to your age group, I should say?
At the end of the day, a lot of these people are not only bought and paid for, but they're smart. They know what words to use to manipulate people, especially younger people, especially teenagers. And a lot of these people have TDS too, Trump derangement syndrome. It's
They do.
taken over. It's just
They do.
it's social media has the power to infect so many minds, especially young minds, especially teenagers. So I think that's where they gained that power.
Do you think that was deliberate? They knew that?
I do. Yeah, definitely.
When you say money, is it Soros money that's doing this, or is it other things? Maybe because I look at Candace Owens tonight. I mean, she is in Russia. Been in Russia this week. You know, she was claiming she was on vacation, but it's been basically reported that she was speaking to certain Russian political groups, and you know, it's just when a young person sees that, is there enough there to see through the hypocrisy of that, or do these podcasters have such a sway on these kids they don't connect the dots as easily as maybe as somebody older that looks at this, you know, from a different perspective does?
I think that these podcasters only have a certain level of influence, but I do think that they're getting funded by not only Soros. No, he has a team that includes China and Russia, and it's just that's all that matters to these people. But I think they also believe that they have more. I think that they believe they have more power than they actually do.
Okay.
I don't think that they realize that a lot of people are waking up. Sure, they have the chains wrapped tight around a good amount of people, but not everyone.
Okay. Well, and that's encouraging to know. I mean, honestly, that's encouraging to know that they don't have the influence that I think some of us older folks think they do, because that gives me hope. When you who would you want to see run with JD in 28?
Marco Rubio, I believe. I think that he would make a great running mate.
Do you think that if that was reversed, Rubio Vance, would the young people come out and support a Rubio Vance ticket?
Yeah, I think so. I think either one would be a great combination. I think they're two great leaders, and they both care about our country.
How would a DeSantis ticket with Rubio look?
I think it'd be right there in the middle. I don't think it would be bad, but I also think that a lot of people don't like Ron DeSantis from both sides of the aisle.
Okay.
So I think that one would be a little more difficult.
What's your prediction on the midterms? Do we hold the House and Senate, or do you think that we're going to see a change of guard in D.C. and then Trump go through 2 years of impeachments and everything else over the last 2 years of his presidency?
I mean, I think we have it. I think we have the House and the Senate. I think that enough people see all the good that President Trump is doing for our country. And I pray we don't have anything to worry about, but I'm not too worried myself.
Well, you're encouraging your host tonight. I've been encouraged listening to you. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, and I really believe that you're right. I really do. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this movement? Have you always been a conservative? Something you grew into, or is it something you just as a young lady growing up in a conservative home, or what? Tell us a little bit about Jordan Brace tonight.
I definitely grew up in a conservative home, but I also form my own opinions. Ever since Barack Obama was in office, I could see how he was dividing our country. And that was how I really started to dig my nails deep into the world of politics. And it was really interesting to me. And then I started, and honestly, it was all for fun at first. I created an X account at 13 because that was the earliest I was allowed to do it. I probably would have done it sooner had I been able to. And honestly, my knowledge started to grow from there. I was more encouraged to do research because obviously if you're going to make a post involving politics, something as big as that, you need to do your research first. You need to fact check. Otherwise, people are going to come after you.
Right.
It's so important. I mean, totally it's important regardless of whether or not people are going to come after you. But I've just been so involved and so interested for years. It's like second nature.
Okay. Are you in college? I'm assuming you're in college.
I'm going to college. I just graduated high school a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations. Okay. Well, congratulations. And that's great. We're praying for you, kid. Let me ask you this about America's 250. We've got the 250th anniversary coming up, July the 4th. In the young conservative world, how do the young conservatives view America right now? Do they see us as a good force in the earth? Do you think that your age group sees America as good, or has this educational influence and all these voices that have tried to convince them that we're bad and tyrannical and oppressive and all these crazy things the left pushes on them, has that gotten into the psyche of these young people, or are they smart enough to see and, as you say, do your research about our country's history and know that America's been a good force in the earth at times when we've been good?
I think that honestly, on both sides of the aisle, people, especially young people, love our country. And I think a lot of people know that we are the greatest country on earth. I've even heard people say, people that are more Democrat leaning, people that don't support President Trump, which obviously everyone's going to have their own view on things. Even those people say that they love our country. They might not love the leadership, because obviously everyone's entitled to their own belief, but they love our country. And I think that that says a lot about our generation.
I agree with that. How does your age group view faith? I mean, it seems like there's a revival ever since Charlie Kirk sadly got assassinated. Charlie was making a lot of inroads with the young people, and we were just saddened and just were shocked. Even to this day, we're coming up on the year anniversary of it in September. It's hard to believe it's been that long.
I know.
It feels like it's yesterday, but he did something that I don't think anybody in my age group did, and that is he was able to connect with these young people, but he did it in a way that even if they disagreed with him, he was willing to take their questions and at least listen to them and meet them on their level. But his faith is what to me was the most precious thing about Charlie Kirk. He never compromised his faith to do it. He never compromised his values. He never compromised his conscience. He stayed true to God. He stayed true to Christ, even to the end. And did that leave a lasting mark on many young people? Do you think that's why we're seeing a renewal right now in the kids, in the young people's faith? Because there's certainly something up among our young people tonight.
I believe so. I do think that Charlie Kirk had a lasting impact on a lot of people in our generation, especially young conservatives. And besides the impact that he had, I think it's just so great that a lot of people are in my generation are running towards faith, and that we're seeing such an increase in church attendance rather than teenagers that are just being dragged to church by their parents when they don't want to go. I'm personally part of a youth group at the church that I attend, and it's so great to see so many people my age that love God, that love community, and that just want to come together.
Yeah, and that's well said. Well, listen, it has been such a deep pleasure tonight. I want to give you a few minutes. Is there anything that you wanted to share with us tonight? Any thoughts that you had about something, a matter that was really pressing on your heart? We're going to have you back. These first interviews are always get to know you interviews, and this has been really good, and I really appreciated your insight tonight on some things. And now, Jordan, I'm going to hold you personally accountable. If California goes blue again, we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting. So I'm just saying, okay?
All right.
That's a joke. I'm just messing with you. But tell us a little bit, what's anything on your heart before we let you go tonight?
I also wanted to point out another great candidate for California. Michael Gates is running for Attorney General.
Okay.
He is amazing. I have spoken with him. I've worked with him. He's a very amazing guy, and I just want residents of California to know that if they choose to reelect Rob Bonta, the crime is not going to get any better. I mean, of course, with a Republican governor, that would have some sort of impact. But we need an attorney general that cares, and that is not Rob Bonta. So someone that can connect on a personal level, another candidate that can connect on a personal level is Michael Gates. So I hope that when the general election comes up, everyone fills him out on their ballots.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, 1 being the best. How bad is the crime in California right now?
I'd say about a 9. It's pretty bad.
Is there any part of the state that's not affected by this?
No, not at all. There may be some parts that are less affected, but there's none that are completely safe.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to keep you just a few more minutes. I've always been told, we've got some dear friends, family that live out there, and just as I said, we love that state. We're going to be coming back to it in August to have a gathering of our show. Um, I've been told that it's sort of like New York, that if you get outside the suburbs and you get out in the rural areas, that California is actually a red state. And I tend to believe that because other than, of course, Hollywood and LA and Sacramento and San Francisco, that are just hubs of just vileness and everything else. And that's not, I'm not saying that in judgment. I'm just saying that the crime in those cities, if you say LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Sacramento, those are the four major cities in the state. And they just seem to be deep, deep blue. But if you get out in the rural areas, the mountains, the northern part of the state, there's a lot of conservative people that still remain there, and they're really suffering under this liberal rule. Are the liberals going to keep doing this and the state just go away? Because eventually they can't keep doing what they're doing without the state going bankrupt unless they get a friendly voice in D.C. that feeds them all the federal money. And I think that Trump's put an end to that, and that's why the state is in the financial mess it's in too.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It is definitely the bigger cities that are more blue than anything. And I know a lot of people probably don't know about these, but there's a couple cities I can mention, like El Dorado Hills, what else? Cameron Park. I'm sure a lot of people know about Orange. Mm-hmm. There are some, like you said, smaller cities that are safer than Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, whatever. But what really matters, unfortunately, when it comes down to the election is those big cities with the large populations, with the large amount of blue votes. So I'm glad that we're working on turning those big cities red too.
If Jordan Brace was Attorney General tonight, if you were governor and you had the power to do three things for California, what would be the top three things you do for your state?
That's hard. I think I would take care of homelessness because it honestly breaks my heart to see all these homeless encampments everywhere, to see people living on the streets. I'm trying to keep this not so general. I would make sure I would put criminals away. I would ensure that there aren't people just running around the streets, harming people, harming businesses, just for the sake of people's feelings. And I would finally probably take care of the fire victims, ensure that they feel accounted for, ensure that they feel safe, and that the leadership in their state actually cares.
That's beautiful. No, that's I would tend, if I was the governor of California, to do the same thing. I do want to ask you, what is your remedy to the homelessness? Look, Spencer Pratt, I know people was slamming him for his, it sounded like tough talk, but Jordan, you can't let homeless people lay on the street. You got to find a remedy. And honestly, it becomes a national health issue. It becomes a state health issue with the meth needles and the drug needles and the paraphernalia, the crime. And a lot of these homeless people, they have nowhere to go. And we have nothing but sympathy for them. But the state has got to do something, and there may be some harsh measures that have to be taken to get them off the street. And I know a lot of people don't like what Spencer Pratt's saying, but I think that to get it back to ground zero, you got to get it back to ground zero. But what would be some things that, if Jordan Brace was in power, what would you suggest that would take place with the homeless? Because it's a tough subject. I know it's complicated, and I know that we don't want to seem unkind and uncaring, but you have to look at the other side too. The balance of this is there is a lot of danger and a lot of dangerous people that are on the street that don't have a home, and it just puts the normal citizen in a place of danger.
I think that a good solution for those that have drug issues or things like that is to get them in mental health facilities or rehab centers, things like that won't cost the state extra. And also, I know that this is a little pricey, but I truly don't believe that our state has enough homeless shelters.
Okay.
But Spencer Pratt did propose a treatment and recovery first policy for homelessness.
Yes.
And that's also something I would want to follow through with, because I think that it's better, rather than shoving a bunch of people without homes into this confined space, which I think is like a last resort. Making sure that these people get the treatment and the help that they need first is the most important thing.
Okay. I think that is very well said and thought out. And when you get old enough to run for governor, you let me know. I will be your campaign manager. Okay. I will personally come to California and help you run for governor, kid. You got a lot of great ideas. Listen, I want you to know it's been a pleasure, our pleasure here tonight. I want you to promise me you'll come back. And I may call you next week if this thing things break in California, and I need a voice. I've got your number, and I'll get you back on, and we'll talk about what's going on with the votes as we get the news in. Maybe next week or the next, we'll definitely have you back. I want to thank you for being with us tonight. You're a fine young lady, I can tell. I know your parents are proud of you, and they should be, because you carry yourself well, and you did a great job tonight. And we're always grateful to have new guests. I told you now, you're family. So we'll be calling on you all the time to come on the show. So you just keep your phone on, okay?
All right, I will.
Thank you, Jordan. Have a good night now. Bless you, kids.
You too. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Jordan Brace, everybody. A fine young lady. Magdalene Rose, I know she's out there. Thank her for having Jordan on. And she told me, she said, I got a young conservative. Great guest for you tonight. I didn't even know she was from California. I was on the phone to everybody, trying to get somebody to come on the phone tonight with us to talk about it, so this worked out beautifully. But put some fire in that house for her. That was her first McFile interview, and I think she did an A-plus job. I think she did a great, great job. She's an insightful young lady. Yes, she is, Susan. And just graduated from high school, amazed at her knowledge. And I am too. I just love these kids like this. I really do believe that, and I don't know how long the war's going to tarry. I might be around to see them get into the government at some point. May not be, but at least I've got some hope that this country ain't going totally straight to below. If we can get people like Magdalene Rose and Jordan Brace, and we've had some other good guests on the show, young kids, that Jacob kid that we had, can't think of his last name tonight. Names are terrible. I got so many tabs in my head. But we've had some jam-up young conservatives on this network in the last few months, and I want to thank Magdalene Rose. She's a dear, dear heart, and she's my goddaughter. I joke around with her about it. I got in trouble. Some folks out there got offended I was doing that a few years back. I don't care. She is my goddaughter. She's my goddaughter, and I'd stand in front of a bullet for that kid. I would. She's precious to me, and she's got a lot of insight. But she's been very helpful to us to get guests like this. And I want to thank Jordan Brace tonight. We're going to be back. It's only 9:30. I'm going to regroup because I've got a news show. I got a news wrap-up show we're going to do tonight, probably back around 11. We're trying to get Denise Martin on the phone tonight to talk again. Denise did such a good job last week. And let me see here. Let's see. What is that? No, that's not. I thought somebody was... Anyway, but we're going to be back tonight at 11 Eastern for a late show with just the Mac Man and maybe a surprise guest or two. I'm going to dig in the barrel and see what I can come up with. Keep you awake on a Thursday night. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. Let me just get some insight. What do you all think about the situation in California tonight? If you got anything to say about California and Spencer Pratt, if you're from California and you have got any thoughts about the election tonight, I want you to put that in. I'll take about 10 minutes. If you got any questions, any statements about the election, we'll be back because we got some video to play. Marco Rubio should be given Man of the Year. He should be given the key to Washington, D.C. for the next 20 years. For what he's had to put up with the last 2 days on Capitol Hill. I have never seen a more dumber bunch of politicians, a more petulant, childish, boorish, demonic, absolutely deranged, insane group of people than this demon crap party. I know the right has our issues. I'm not happy with many on the right. I think John Thune needs to be taken down out of power tonight. I think every single one of these rhinos, I think that every time we have a crisis in this country and they don't get their way, they show their backside and they show their colors, and I'm not happy about it. While I'm not happy about the rhinos, this left, this Democrat left, folks, they've just gone deranged, insane. I'm talking, they're lunatics. They are demonic lunatics. Al Green today was screaming at Mark Wayne Mullen, our Department of National Intelligence head, and did nothing for the time he had but call him a racist. That's all he said. You're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist. That's Al Green. Now, he's not going to be back in power in January. And when I saw Marco Rubio, the questions, they were literally arguing with Marco Rubio about whether President Trump bought him shoes that were too big. We've got a crisis in the Middle East tonight, folks, that, you know, President Trump keeps promising us that things are going to get worked out, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know, but it's still a dangerous situation. But we're arguing with the Secretary of State about shoes? Seriously? And that's exactly what they did. We're going to play some video about that tonight, later. I've never seen a Democrat Party like this in my life. I've never seen a party period like this in my life. And I want to say something to the New Jerseyans. I better word this carefully. You have got to be on meth. You have got to be doped up in your head, even on the left, to have elected a man last night or Tuesday night that was basically testifying on behalf of the blind sheik that was responsible for the Trade Center bombing of 1993 and ultimately had his fingerprint on 9/11. By the way, you lost nearly 7,000 people on 9/11 from New Jersey. I hope, including Todd Beamer. Todd Beamer's grave is in northeast New Jersey. Todd Beamer was the one that made the ultimate sacrifice on that plane in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and he made the famous statement of "Let's roll." And it basically saved probably another several hundred lives because the Pentagon had been hit, the towers had been hit, and it was likely that plane in Pennsylvania was headed back to either the Capitol or the White House on 9/11 of 2001. But yet, the left, Tuesday night, in New Jersey, elected a radical leftist that believes that all Jews need to be executed pretty much, and that he is for the same people that killed nearly 3,000 people in this country on 9/11. And yet he's this close, folks, and he will likely win the general election in November. Because there's no really candidate to stand up to him. And a lot of Christians don't go vote. And Christians don't care. So I guess what's going to happen, New Jersey? You're going to be given a leader that you want. You're going to be given a terrorist to represent your interest in Congress. Just like you've got a terrorist in the governor's mansion that's running your state now. So all you self-righteous individuals that don't believe you need to go vote, and don't think that voting is godly, and don't think that voting is necessary, guess what? You get what you ask for. This is what happens when people don't go vote. The turnout in New Jersey, they said Tuesday night, was 20%. Hardly 30% of the people of the whole state went out and voted in these elections. Well, I tell you what, if you don't do that, if you do that again in November, you're going to have somebody that was defending and basically applauding 9/11 of 2001. That is a damnable insult and a slap in the face of every victim of every victim. Every victim. And it wasn't 7,000 that died in 9/11 in New Jersey. It was more like 700. It wasn't, but 3,000 that died total. But there was a large number of that 3,000 that came from New Jersey. It's a slap and an insult to the victims of 9/11 and their families tonight to have such an individual this close from taking powers in the halls of Congress. That is America tonight. That such has become America. That is such has become America. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. It is absolutely disgraceful. Let's see what we got over here real quick. California, Carol Smith. Carol Smith says, California shows how much we need the Save America Act. I'm glad you talked about that. We're going to talk about that later tonight, my friend, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Amy Harris says, I live in a red area of California, and I'm so happy that the spotlight is on the state with this election. I hope now people see the state is more red than people think. Corruption runs deep here. Amy, it's a pleasure to have you tonight, and thank you for that. And I'm with you, and I think that you're right about the country focusing. I've been focused on it, and there's a lot of people, that's all that's been the conversation today is California. And I hope that because of the spotlight, and I think Jordan made a great point, the Democrats have pulled this stuff before in the past. They have. They did it in 2020, and they used COVID as the shield to do it. I don't think this playbook is going to play as well as they think this time. Because if it's blatant that there's corruption, I do believe that President Trump and the courts will probably step in. God, please let them do this and stop this mess. Because it is unconstitutional. It is illegal. People need to go to jail for it, including Karen Bass, if she's behind it, and her forces, and Raymond Noodle, the other candidate, Gavin Newsom. Newsom signed a measure in the law. It's interesting, Amy. I'm sure you've known about this. The day before the election, the law went into effect in California. Y'all know what that law was? Poll watchers cannot question the validity of the vote. You can't have poll watchers at these stations that are counting these ballots. They can't make any judgment on the ballot. It's illegal for them to do that now. That's Gavin Newsom. That's Gavin Newsom. So, Amy, I'm with you. I'm praying for your state, my friend, because we got a lot of dear friends. And welcome to our show tonight. We're grateful that you're here. Come on back, be with us again. Appreciate you being here tonight. And well said. Well said. I appreciate that. Let's see here. We got a clown in the house. Let me get rid of the clown. Let's see. Anything on Facebook tonight? Redora says California needs a police to watch our elections. I believe that the Democrats will rig this election. Redora, what I just said, you can't have police anymore. Because Newsom saw to it that any of that, there's no monitoring at these poll places. It's now, the law has prohibited anybody from looking over the shoulder of these vote counters, which that is a joke. But again, you know, what do? I mean, when you put wicked leaders over you, this is what wicked leaders do. And I'm not going to disagree that you need a police force. You need something out there. I think if I was President Trump tonight, I'm not so sure I wouldn't call in the National Guard. But Cleo made a good point to me today about this. That's what they want him to do. Because if he does that, guess what they're going to call President Trump? They're going to call him a dictator. And they're going to scream to bloody murder that he's trying to influence elections to get Republicans to win. And that's why the people of California that I'm talking to tonight, you all need to bombard your local election officials. You need to bombard your telephone lines to Congress, your state representatives, if you've got any out there that have any sense to them. And you need to do everything you can. The people need to do it. It really, if it comes from the federal government, it's going to look like a power play. And I'm praying for y'all. And I will agree that you need to pray, Redor. That I will pray for. I'm with you that. Unbelievable. Roger says, can you believe 72% of LA voters in the mayoral race? Roger, I don't, again, the numbers, they are about 1 million votes out. That's what they um, um, said that they've got left. Dennis Floyd says, why don't we make a law where if you're eligible to vote and don't, then you should not be eligible to receive and benefits. You know something, Dennis? That is an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. I never thought about that. But to register to vote, I'm going to add something to that. To get benefits, you got to produce a valid driver's license and a Social Security card. Now, in California, they pass those out like cotton candy. It probably wouldn't matter out in California and Minnesota because they probably got illegal driver's license because they got governors that allow them to do it. We don't mess around with that stuff here in Tennessee. Red states don't do that stuff. But that's an excellent point. And I think that it would curb a lot of this illegal voting, buddy. Yeah. And I think that people would have to register to vote. If they don't register, they don't get Social Security benefits. You see, there'd be a house cleaning. Now, the Dems would scream bloody murder. There'd be so many lawsuits on that you can't shake a stick at. But I'll amen that. I think that's a great idea. It cut down on a lot. Pat says Capitol Hill is the reason our country is failing. I watched those hearings, and we should be ashamed as Americans. That's why we have so much hate in our country. Roger says the Democrats will create ballots until they win the mayoral race. Well, that's the whole point, Roger. That's exactly what they do. We are... Again, we're praying for that. I really am. I'm praying for the situation in California tonight. Pat and Deb says, Chris, pull a rabbit out of that hat. Pat, the only thing that's underneath this hat's a bunch of messy gray hair tonight. That's why I wore it, because my hair looks like a mess. But if I could, Pat, Deb, I would pull it out and save California tonight. Let me tell you something, folks. Two things are in play tonight. Carol, to your point, the Save America Act should have been passed yesterday. But the courts need to rule on this initiative in front of them. And it's a lot of things hang in the balance. And the Supreme Court seems to be indicating that they're going to come down on the fact that if you do not have your ballot in, not post-dated, not postmarked, if your ballot has not been received by Election Day, you don't get counted. If it's a mail-in ballot. And it's Election Day, not election month. And that's what California did. Folks, do you realize the House, we had a 10 to almost 15, maybe 20 vote margin in the House the night we went to bed when 2024, when me, James, Leslie, and Magdalene was on, and we had the late night election show. The Republicans were looking like we were going to actually have not a great margin, but a certainly better margin than we got. We only got a 3-vote margin. They did the same thing to us in these House races in California back in 24. They waited for 6 weeks to get vote tallies in, and these Republican candidates that were up on election night, they lost. And we wound up almost losing the House over it. So something's got to be done. And I pray something is. But that Save America Act is key, and it's why it should have been passed yesterday. Don't hold your breath with John Thune. Anyway, Roger, it has nothing to do with being a dictatorship. I disagree with that being a dictatorship. That's just common sense. It's constitutional. Look, folks, I'm going to tell you something tonight. You should not be allowed to vote in this country if you're not a citizen. I'm going to go further. You should not be allowed to be in an office if you're not a natural-born citizen. All these foreigners coming over here running for office that they're not even born in America, I don't care. The presidency can't do that. You've got to be a natural-born citizen to be president. I'm going to tell you something. You should have the same requirement on judicial places and also on legislators. I'm sorry. And that goes for state legislators too. You've not been born here. You don't get to have a say in our nation. Tough stuff. You can get on your X account and be an influencer, but that's not what the lady out in that ocean out there in New York City has her hands open to do. She's got her arms open wide to bring people in here to destroy the country. No, those are people that she's inviting to come help the country, not destroy it. It's not dictatorship. No, it's actually constitutional. And the way I look at it, if you can't provide a driver's license and you can't register to vote, you don't get benefits. Smart. It's common sense. It's common sense. Now, Roger, to your point, they probably would claim it's a dictatorship, but that's all right. I think, Roger, I'm at a point that let the left cackle. I'm with some of you that watch these hearings with Rubio. This party that's cackling and screaming like they are and saying the things they are, I hate to tell them, we out here in the general public, we don't care what they've got to say to us anymore. It does not register on our meter 1 ounce. I've got no respect for any of them. The scary thing is, though, they're in power. And they're only in power because of people that don't vote or people that are voting for them that are either so deceived in their own darkened mind that they believe that these people have got the right way to govern, or they're just like them. They embrace that same ideology, which that's even scarier that people would embrace that. But that's America. But the Republicans had better get their act together. And I think we all better get our act together. The Christian community better get our act together. Folks, I'm telling you, I will say this as I close tonight on this early bird. We've got enough Christian voices, enough Christian votes in this country. If everybody got to those polls and voted right, I'm not talking about political direction. I'm talking about voting righteousness, right? Biblical righteousness. You wouldn't have a Democrat ruling in this country for 500 years. You wouldn't have a left. You wouldn't have this fascism in this country. I'm going to tell you something. These founding fathers that shed their blood, many of them, their families that shed their blood for the Revolutionary War, during the Revolutionary War that we're about to celebrate the 250-year anniversary of, they didn't shed their blood that this country turned into this fascist hellhole that it's turned into tonight. They didn't shed their blood that we give benefits to people that don't even belong here and give power to people that have no say in this country, that hate this country. That's not what we shed blood for. Every conflict we've ever had, we've tried to deliver other nations from fascism, and we've tried to keep fascism off this ground, only to give that power back to a political party. And I'll amen myself on that. I'll amen myself. Anyway, good to see everybody tonight. Good to see everybody. Amy says another point, they're using the excuse of going over each ballot as an excuse for taking so long to call races. But in past elections, they have called races within 10 minutes. After the polls closed, we did get enough signatures to have voter ID on the ballot in November, so hopefully that passes. Cleo says mandatory voting favors the left as it forces the young out to vote. That's what happened here. What you need is voter ID. Voter ID, and I agree with that. Troy Apple says, I think they should also be born in the state they represent. Troy, that is a mouthful. I will agree with that. No, I'll agree with that. You've got people moving from state to state, running for state. Liz Cheney did it. Liz Cheney, her dad, I think Dick Cheney, lived in Wyoming. Liz hardly was there, and she was a Wyoming senator. That's why she got beat 70-30 when people caught on to what she was doing. I'm with you, Troy. I'll amen that. Listen, guys, we're going to pick all this up back tonight at 11. I want to thank Jordan Brace. What a fine young lady. Ain't it cool we got these young voices speaking out for our country? I'm really proud of her. I thought she did a great job tonight, and I hope you'll be back with me later for having an old voice. We old voices are trying to do the job that Jordan did. We're just a little older, a little more cranky, a little bit more wired up. But we still love you, right? You still love us. May the Lord bless you out there tonight. I'll be back with some more tonight, probably around 11. God bless you guys. Be back soon.